For almost 30 years, Valor Law Firm has been winning serious injury and death cases for clients. They have collected millions of dollars on behalf of their clients and belong to the prestigious $1 Million Advocates Forum. When insurance or a wrongdoer won't pay for what they took from you, go with an award-winning firm with a track record of results. At Valor Law Firm, results matter. Make sure you go with lawyers that have the experience, ability, and financial power to hold those that hurt you accountable. Put your trust in Valor Law Firm. Give them a call at 662-323-0083.
You're listening to Thunder and Lightning on SuperTalk Mississippi, covering Mississippi State sports like nobody else. With Sports Talk Mississippi's Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk of On3 Sports. Now get ready for Thunder and Lightning.
This is Thunder and Lightning here on Super Talk Mississippi. Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk here with you on a Thursday morning. Thanks for joining us here at supertalk.fm or wherever it is that you get podcasts from. We appreciate you guys out there, our great listeners, especially our servicemen and women out there taking care of us. I want to thank our sponsors over at Strange Brew Coffee House and Churn and Spoon Ice Cream. Start your day the right way with a trip to the drive-thru over at Strange Brew Coffee House here in Starkville or at Brupolo over in Tupelo. It would be a little weird, Robbie, if Brupolo was... Where was I going here? I had it.
Oh.
There it is. I found it. In Glenwild.
That'd be really weird.
Yeah.
Glenwild's weird.
It's wild, some say.
Some would say. I don't know if I've ever been there. So I couldn't tell you if it's weird or not.
Let me tell you all about Glenwild. It is in Grenada County.
Okay.
3 miles south of our friends at Tie Plant and 3 miles north of Elliott.
So I'm sure Paul Jones could give us some thoughts on Glenwild.
I've been to Glenwild more than you.
Yeah, I went fishing there one time.
Yeah, exactly. Wherever you are in our great state, you can enjoy Strange Brew Coffee each and every morning. It's just a click away at strangebrewcoffeehouse.com. The Mississippi Beef Council wants to remind you that beef, it is what's for dinner. Later today, actually this morning, perhaps even as you're listening, Robbie Faulk and I will be at the Mississippi State Veterinary School to meet up with some of our friends from the Mississippi Beef Council. They're going to take us through the processing of said beef. So I'm looking forward to that. Robbie, I don't know if you saw, he sent us a message to make sure you're wearing sleeves. I remember the last time we went to a place that had a big cooler and you were in there with a T-shirt and shorts. I thought you were going to freeze to death. So
it was rough.
Let's put some pants on. All right.
Spear catfish, which is a similar situation. Where
it was.
We're seeing things get processed. But yeah. I didn't come out of the Superior Catfish plant saying, "Man, I'm hungry."
Yeah,
and I don't know if I might feel a little more hungry going into the meat processing part of the thing, but I'm going to be a little more prepared tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine. And of course, if you're cooking out this weekend or if you're cooking dinner tonight, make beef the star of the show. Your family will thank you when beef is on the menu. Beef, it's what's for dinner. Thanks to our friends at the Mississippi Beef Council. College Corner, collegecornerstore.com is the place to find the maroon and white merchandise that you are looking for. If you are in need of some new gear, hey, we've got a whiteout coming up next week here at Starkville. If you need a brand new white Mississippi State interlocking polo, they've got it there at College Corner. 2 locations in the Jackson area, Ridgeland by Fleet Feet, followed by the Half Shell, or you can shop online at collegecornerstore.com. Restaurant Tyler, Starkville's flagship restaurant for lunch, dinner, or Sunday brunch. The best meal in town is always at Restaurant Tyler. Was down in the downtown area today, and I know the parking situation there is still tough, but man, let's keep Restaurant Tyler and all our downtown businesses going. It's worth the maybe you have to walk an extra block just up the street a little bit, but that's the way it's got to be to enjoy the best lunch in Starkville. Hopefully, we'll see you there this weekend for lunch, for dinner, or even for that great Sunday brunch at Restaurant Tyler. Priority1 Bank, 16 locations here to serve you throughout central Mississippi. Let Priority1Bank.com be your guide and show you not only how they're going to help you invest and manage your money, but how they're going to help you prepare for the future. Now more than ever, when you have questions about your money, you need answers, you need to talk to the people who know you as well as they know your money. Talk to the good folks at Priority1 Bank. Let Priority1 Bank make you their priority. A little later in the show, we're going to jump on the hotline to talk to our friend John Talty, national college football reporter for 24/7 Sports. But before that, Robbie, let's talk about Mississippi State this weekend. So, a year ago this week, you and I were struggling for this show, right? They had just lost to Tulane. To Toledo. They were 1-2. And you knew how the rest of the season was going to go. You knew that it was going to be difficult to find wins. And I would say that that Toledo loss is one of the most embarrassing losses in school history. And the program was at one of the lowest points it's been at, especially in the modern era. Obviously back in the 40s and 50s, there were some low days, but from the Jackie Sherrill times on, that was up there with the worst. Here we sit, just over 365 days later. Mississippi State is 3-0. They are a 22-point favorite over a team from the same conference as Toledo. They will likely win that game, be 4-0, and be set for the biggest home game that this school has seen in quite some time. Excitement is at a good spot right now. People are believing and buying into Jeff Lebby. I think that by and large, the positive vibes around this program are as strong as they've been since the passing of Mike Leach. Is this a full circle moment Saturday night? You win this game, you wash off all of the stink of what happened a year ago against Toledo, and it's about looking forward as a program from that point on.
I feel like Arizona State was pretty close. Doing it now 2 more weeks, and you've pushed forward to 4-0. Yeah, totally. Arizona State washed off a lot of that stink, but I think this completely wipes it away, and you're kind of back to where you feel like you're competing. You can go out on a random Saturday in SEC play, and you feel pretty good about your chances. And it's been a while since it's been that way for Mississippi State, where you go into an SEC ball game against somebody that's not at the bottom of the barrel, and you feel like you have a really good shot. That's been several years. If you lose on Saturday, you're right back to being concerned about where things are. I just don't see that happening for this Mississippi State team. They seem to be a team that handles adversity fairly well and winning. They've done that now. They're 3-0. I think they go out on Saturday and they play a lot like they did this past Saturday, in that they attack it in a business-like fashion, and they need to. Because certainly if you get to 4-0 after what we saw last year when they were 1-3 after 4 games, and in that 4-game stretch you lost to Toledo by 17 or whatever it was, and it actually was worse than that, it is a full circle moment. Going into SEC play last year, after those first 3 games, there was a whole lot of dejection from this fan base. You had been kind of drug across the field by Arizona State, even though that game was a 1-score ball game. Cam Scatterbo had almost 300 yards. You looked completely helpless at times in that game. You looked completely dead against Toledo. And you go into the Florida game, and it was competitive for a little bit. But after that game, I think everybody was kind of wondering if there was going to be another opportunity for a win. And now, if you get through this game after 4 games, people have a lot of hope again. And you go into SEC play, there's a lot of excitement around Mississippi State going into that Tennessee game. This is a must-win in every sense of the way. Mississippi State has got to come out, take care of business in this game, and turn the page for a game that is going to be even more important than that Arizona State game. And it's going to be one of the most important games in years. We went back to 2018 before the Arizona State game to find a game at home that had that much hype and that much excitement around it. This one might eclipse that 2018 game. If you can get through this one, it's going to be absolutely massive. The buzz around that game is going to be huge. So this is a really, really important ball game for Jeff Lebby.
You remember that 2018 game too. Of course, State had already lost the game coming into it. They had lost to Kentucky, and also Florida had lost to Kentucky. Both those teams had taken an early season loss, and so that did dampen the excitement just a little bit. And you don't have the same, the Mullen factor in that game was a real thing. But I think in terms of like coming to a game from a positive, and it's me, guys. When we say the word positive, I start to itch a little bit, but people were excited about that game for a negative reason. They were excited to go in there and rub it in Dan Mullen's face and boo him. This is more about people want to show up and be positive about Mississippi State and cheer for their team. Tennessee is just another team at that moment. So I think that could add a lot to it from an atmosphere standpoint as well. This game is these last 2 weeks, this week and last week, I have just they've been necessary stepping stones, right? You don't want to be disrespectful to Alcorn and to Northern Illinois. And look, Northern Illinois this year, they're 1-1 on the season. They've played a Power Five team already in Maryland. They lost that game 20-9, which makes you think that defensively they might be able to do something. Offensively, obviously they've had their struggles, but this is not a game, and Mississippi State is not a program just yet that can just show up on the field, and because they're playing a lesser opponent, they know they're going to walk away with a large victory. They still have to play well, but I think one thing we learned from last week, and you and I have talked about it, is that Jeff Lebby has his team's attention, and he's getting his message across to be focused, to go one game at a time. So I expect to see a game similar to what we saw last week, maybe not in terms of the margin of victory, Robbie, but in terms of the early execution in this game. I expect State to come out strong, get on the scoreboard fast, and control the game from the opening snap.
It's a step up in competition. Obviously, going up against Alcorn State, that's a big step up in competition, I think, between Alcorn and Northern Illinois. But you still are significantly more talented than Northern Illinois. That still should be a game that you come out. If you're playing your brand of football and you're not playing down to your level or anything like that, State should be able to come out and do similar things to what they did against Alcorn. I understand that Northern Illinois' defense is playing at a really high level, but it's still a team that's going to be down the list for you. If you're to compete inside the SEC, this is a game that you should still dominate. And, Mississippi State has 3 of their players from last year. So this is a game that State should come out. You look at those players that they have, they're either not contributing right now or they're way down the depth chart. And to me, that kind of tells you the talent gap that you have between an SEC school and a MAC school. And if State struggles against that, that is a little bit of a concern for me. So I need to see State come out and do exactly what they did against Alcorn. Maybe not. I'm not expecting 63-0. I think that's foolish.
Right.
That would be, if Mississippi State beats Northern Illinois 63-0, then this team's a whole lot better than we thought they were.
They figured some things out. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that a reasonable response, a reasonable outcome, is that State never allows this game to be in doubt. By the fourth quarter, you're doing what you did last week, and we're seeing a whole lot of Kamario Taylor and Luke Kromenhoek, and a lot of guys are getting playing time again. That is the ultimate outcome from this. Just like it was against Alcorn, you don't get guys hurt. You go into Tennessee healthy. You still have all that momentum. You're sitting here at 4-0 for the first time since 2014, I think, at that point. Mm-hmm. And I think the 8th time in school history. This is a big deal. If State can get to 4-0, that is a really big deal. It doesn't happen that often here. And it's only happened in the modern day, like after the 1960s. It's only happened, I think, 5 or 6 times. So this is an opportunity to do something special if you're Mississippi State. No matter what comes after this, starting off 4-0 is the absolute, obviously, the best case scenario that we had placed on this team coming in the season. And that sounds stupid to say best case scenario is you're 4-0, but we thought that it was possible, but it was a little bit of an outside shot with what you have with Arizona State. Now, with that Arizona State win, it's changed everything for Mississippi State, and they kind of control their destiny here to get to 6 wins. But to get to 6 wins, I think it requires you to win this game. 3 SEC wins is a major stretch.
Yeah, you got to win this game to be 6. I totally agree. I mean, I was saying that even before they beat Arizona State. This has always been one that you had to have. State 2-0 on the year against the spread, and last year was surprisingly, for a 2-10 team, they covered a lot. 22 is what we're sitting at right now. You think State covers that spread?
It's a high spread, but I think they can.
That's something, we're talking what at that point, like 42-17 or something.
42-17.
Like that's a reasonable score, I think. So, yeah, I guess that would work. So I think they can cover. It's just when's the last time State was a 22-point favorite? I mean,
They don't. Do they do spreads on FCS
They do
games?
not. So
So
if you're looking at that,
the Eastern Kentucky, no.
no, and then obviously no other games after that would they have been.
UMass, was there a spread
UMass,
on that?
I don't think there was a spread. I don't remember what it was. I don't think State was a 22-point favorite in that game.
It's been a while. It's probably been Zach Arnett.
Oh no, it would not be Zach Arnett because they played an FCS team. Then they played Arizona. They were not a 22-point favorite in that game. The next game was LSU. So I mean,
I guess not.
I don't think they were a 22-point favorite against uh, Southern Miss that year. I'll just look it up. State was an 18.5-point favorite against UMass. It's been a long, long time. Also, correct me if I'm wrong. If State wins this game, first 4-0 start since 2014, right?
Yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier. I think.
So,
All right. So I was talking over
so
this.
number one, right? They're going to be number one in the nation in a few weeks.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
I was talking over this with my friend Jonathan Eaton. He actually had been researching the 4-0 starts.
Okay.
Which I don't think they have started 4-0 with all non-conference games, maybe ever.
You're right.
Usually have the SEC
2014
game.
LSU was game 4.
Yeah.
2012. No, 2012 Auburn was game 2.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think there is a. So we're looking at, all right, 2014 they were 4-0, 2012, 99.
99 game 4 was South Carolina.
All right, what was another 4-0 season? 65 they were 4-0.
We got to go back to 65?
Yes.
Hold on. 65.
1919, I think I saw was
65 4-0. Game 2 was Florida. By the way, that team started out 4-0 and finished 4-6, that 65 team.
And that's one of the few teams that didn't end with at least, I think, 8 wins after starting 4-0.
Went 4-0 and then lost to Memphis and Tulane in the next 2, and then lost to Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Ole Miss.
Okay, but who are we forgetting?
Well, it's got to be like 1940, right?
1940.
And 41 would probably be.
And I think 1919 was the other one.
So, no, 40, they had a tie in the first.
41.
41 had a tie in the first 4 games.
Okay.
So neither team started
45. No, it wasn't 45, was it?
45 started 4-0 and finished 6-3. But
I knew it was a 40.
They played Auburn week 2.
Okay. So then the other one, I believe, was 1919.
Let's look. Did the SEC exist in 1919?
I don't think so. I think the SEC started in the 30s.
But if it did, they weren't independent, but they played Tennessee that year. So
yeah. So this is the opportunity. I mean, I don't know if that's.
I got to tell you, 1919. State's first 4 games were Spring Hill, Mississippi College, Tennessee, and then Samford. They finished 6-2 on the year. The Egg Bowl was not the last game of the season. They beat Ole Miss 33-0 in Clarksdale, Mississippi. Then they lost their final 2 games to Auburn and Alabama.
Nice.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I mean that just shows you you're kind of in rare air here. Like this is a big deal. I don't care if Alcorn's in the middle of that. Beating Arizona State to me is a game changer for Mississippi State. It changes everything for you. And even if you haven't got to SEC play yet, being able to start off like this is really big for this team. And I look at it in a similar way to that 2012 season. And if you look back at the 2012 season, it wasn't all that impressive at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. But what I remember from that 2012 season is it was kind of like a erasing the demons thing for Dan Mullen. Mm-hmm. I don't believe he had beaten a SEC West school not named Ole Miss.
He had not.
His first 3 seasons.
Right, that's correct.
So they got a big win over Auburn, who turned out to be awful.
Yeah.
But he couldn't beat anybody in the SEC West outside Ole Miss. They beat Tennessee that year. That was a big win at the time. Mm-hmm. Tennessee ended up being just okay. That was Derek Dooley.
Yeah.
And you started that season 8-0, I think, 7 or 8-0. You ended it 8-4. And so it didn't end well, but it was still a productive season for Mississippi State because they kind of exercised some demons there. That's kind of how I view this year, is that I don't think this team's going to be a playoff team or anything like that. And I'm not predicting 8 wins or anything for this team. but they're just learning how to win. And these first 4 games are critical for Jeff Lebby to build this program out. They're going to build some buzz going in the next week. If you win this ball game, a lot of buzz is going to be made about, hey, Mississippi State's welcoming in Tennessee. They got a lot of big time recruits in town. The atmosphere is going to be incredible. I don't know what happens in that game. It's going to be a very tough game for Mississippi State with what Tennessee's bringing here. But this week is so crucial in building that, just like, the Southern Miss game was. State had to get out of that with a little bit of hype. You finish the game strong like you did. You win that game how you were supposed to, and then you could build around it. This game is the same way. You need to get out of this healthy. You need to get out of there with a healthy win and have everybody building towards that Tennessee game, because it's just going to continue to elevate Mississippi State, push it out there into the forefront, and start to eliminate this negative narrative around this program. All it took was 2 years for people to talk about Mississippi State like Vanderbilt has been talked about. And so for Jeff Lebby, he's having to erase that, and they're doing it relatively quickly. And this is how quickly you can do it whenever you're winning ball games and you're putting together nice atmospheres. These next 2 weeks are crucial for Mississippi State moving forward. And like I said, I don't know what's going to happen with this program the rest of the year. But this is big for Mississippi State in setting the foundation for Jeff Lebby moving forward, trying to push Mississippi State into a new era here.
Yeah. What do you think crowd this weekend? So similar. I think it'll be more than we had last weekend.
It should be. There's something to be said about the fatigue of 4 straight home games.
Yeah, and then you got next week, you're coming, so it becomes like, do we really want to go? But I think a lot of people skipped last weekend, so.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect. I think it'll be a relatively lively crowd. The crowds have been great so far as far as energy. Students have been incredible. They were packed out last week. I expect that to be the case again. It'll probably be hot. That you're playing a couple hours earlier than you did this past week, and it's been really hot this week, so that could temper the crowd a bit.
Mm.
But for the most part, I expect a lively crowd, and probably not packed or anything like that, but it'll be a decent crowd probably.
I think you're probably between 40 and 45 is what I would probably guess for this one. We shall see. All right, let's move into the rest of the show. It's brought to you by our friends over at Two Brothers Smoked Meats in the heart of the Cotton District. And, of course, the older brother also right there in the Cotton District, right next door to each other. 2 fantastic restaurants. You can't go wrong with either one of them. The older brother, one of the better dinners, by the way, here in the city of Starkville. It's a very unique dinner menu they have. It's different than the lunch menu, which is the sandwich focus. So I definitely encourage you to go check it out. And then Two Brothers is just rocking the same thing, lunch and dinner. But, man, there's so many great options there. We had one of our listeners tweeted us. People ask us, like, what should I have at Two Brothers? And I feel like I'm overloading them. Like, well, this is good and this is good and this is – because I want them to try a little of everything because there's just so much great stuff on that menu. When you want to have a great meal, it's real easy to do. Go park your car in the Cotton District and head over to Two Brothers Smoked Meats and the older brother. Great products, great service. Every business likes to promise it to you. They deliver it to you at Advantage Business Systems. They've been doing it for 50 years.
50, brother.
Did it again. State did it again.
Did it. They did it. They're giving us no credit for that.
We see you.
Look, I appreciate them spreading the love, but
a link would be nice.
Brandon
Check
Walker
this out.
Brandon Walker gets airtime on these videos. They're tweeting.
They
He don't even know half
gear.
the players are on the team.
They're sending him free gear. You and I are
free
getting
gear?
crunches every day.
And by the way, it's all banner.
Oh yeah.
Can we if we're gonna give
Maybe that's what
Brandon
they're doing.
gear, can we give him state script and interlocking?
Maybe that's
please?
what they're trying to do, though. They're just like, hey, we got to get rid of this. Give it to Brandon. He'll take it.
we gotta get rid of the inventory.
Yeah. Just send it to Brandon. Brandon's like, oh, it's great. Oh, look at this. Well, they sent me some new stuff. I'm so important.
Brandon likes the free stuff.
He does.
Like we all do.
Well, if you like free, great service, talk to our friends at Advantage Business Systems. I guess it's not technically free. You do have to buy a copier or something, but After
But
the
on top of the great service that you get,
yeah.
they'll add a little smile to it, I
Yeah,
guess.
they'll put
Free.
they'll put
They're
a
not
little
gonna
extra
charge you
love
for
in.
that.
Yeah, they'll put a little extra love on there for you. If you need new technology for your business, call Advantage Business Systems 601-362-9192 or visit them online absms.com. Find out how Advantage Business Systems will help your business do business. Maroon and Co. is the place to go this game day weekend in Starkville. Nobody with a bigger or better selection of Mississippi State gear. Everything maroon and white under one roof. You know full well you're going to go shopping for Mississippi State stuff when you're in Starkville this weekend or whatever game weekend you're here. Make sure that stop is at Maroon and Co. And use our promo code to save yourself a little money. Thunder 15. It's available online as well, maroonandco.com, or you can use it in store to save 15% off regular price. Before you go to Davis Wade Stadium this weekend, make sure you go to Maroon & Co. No matter what you're doing out around your house this weekend, our friends at Scrugs Farm, Lawn, and Garden have something that can make your job easier. If you're in your yard and you're mowing the grass, doesn't matter how big a yard you have, they've got the John Deere mower, they've got the price, and they've got the financing available for you that gets that job done faster. Home repair projects, the top names in power tools at Scrugs Farm, Lawn, and Garden. Gardening, guess what? All the top tools, everything you need to have the envy of the neighborhood at Scruggs Farm, Lawn and Garden. Or if you're just cooking out this weekend, plenty of great selections there as well for a new grill at Scruggs Farm, Lawn and Garden. Doesn't matter what you're doing around your house, Scruggs Farm, Lawn and Garden makes it easier for you. Scruggs Farm, Lawn and Garden, Saltillo, they have what you want for less. Earlier today, I talked to our friend John Talty, covers college football for 24/7 Sports, one of their national reporters. Wanted to get his thoughts on this college football season and, of course, on Mississippi State. All interviews here on Thunder and Lightning are brought to you by Allora Modern Wellness. I was at Allora Modern Wellness last week, got my cryotherapy. My back had been bothering me. And once again, you walk in, you feel one way, but you feel a lot better when you walk out. Whatever it is that you're doing, you need to make sure that recovery is part of your process. And the good people at Allora Modern Wellness can help you with that. Check them out online at alloramodernwellness.com. You can book all of your appointments right there and get yourself feeling the way you want to feel. If you're working out hard, you have to recover as well. Allora Modern Wellness makes that happen for you. Let's go down to my interview with John Talty. I love to talk to this guy right here, John Talty. I love saying national college football writer, reporter, best-selling author, and my friend John Talty. That's a great resume as far as I'm concerned.
I've come a long way from when you first met me.
I didn't like you. I'll just come out and say it. I didn't like you.
Yeah. Just getting bullied on message boards for wearing the color red out in public. Interesting start to our relationship.
It's just like anything else in life. You have the good and the bad, and you get there. One of the things I remember talking in the spring, I remember talking to Cole Kublik, and he said, he lamented the fact that because there were so few spring games, he didn't have a lot of film. He didn't know what a lot of teams were. And so I guess my question is, in that situation, 3 weeks into the season, what has surprised you the most about this college football season?
Well, I think that's a great lead in because I think we've already learned so much, I think, good and bad about different teams. And I think what is so tricky with the preseason stuff is, like Cole's point, not a lot of spring game. Also, these rosters just change over so much year to year. And sometimes it's like, all right, everything they did on paper, I think it's going to make sense. And a great example of that is LSU. Like, we felt like, all right, they spent a lot of money on defense, and guess what? They look great so far. And all of that has paid off. There's other programs where it's like, hey, they added all these pieces, they should be better. And then they're just not. It didn't all come together. I think for me, the biggest surprise so far in a negative way is Clemson. There was a lot of pieces on paper that you felt like, with Cade Klubnik being one of the top returning quarterbacks, people thought potential top 10 pick. We've got 2 potential top 10 picks on D-line. We thought this was going to be the best defensive line in college football, and it hasn't played out. They have not looked particularly good in any of their games. They already have 2 losses. I don't know if they're 1,000% out of the playoff race, but they feel pretty close to it. And I'm surprised by that. I went to their first game against LSU. I thought they were going to win, to be honest, and
I did too.
it didn't come together. The running game's not very good. QB play, I think Klubnik has regressed, and um, sometimes you can get tricked into this team returns all these players. They're going to take a leap. And maybe they actually were already maxed out and there is no kind of next step for them to make. And that might be some of the problem with Clemson. And, now we're already getting some Dabo playing the hits. So I'm not surprised by that, but I am surprised that they're already 1-2.
All right, so you got a team, you mentioned LSU, the team kind of where you thought they would be. You got Clemson, a team you think is not as good as you thought they were going to be. Who's been a pleasant surprise for you thus far?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think you've seen. We'll go to the Clemson's opponent recently and Georgia Tech. I mean, that's a team that they've been kind of on the cusp. It's nice to see them. I think break through in the way that they have. Vanderbilt, I think, is another one that's kind of they've been on the cusp. It's kind of can they take that leap? And we're seeing that happen. And they obviously had a big convincing win over South Carolina the other weekend. So there are a couple. I'm trying to think of. Let me think for a second. I mean, let me ask you, Brian, who's the first one that comes to your mind? And we'll see if that spurs some other people in my mind of who I feel like have really taken a big leap so far.
Do you mean other than Mississippi State?
Well, we're going to get to that. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to step on my toes for what I was going to say later.
Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt's probably because I thought Vanderbilt would just regress back to normal, right? I was like, all right, it's a fun story last year, but not this year. And they've had some luck. Virginia Tech is awful, and that's evidenced by the fact they had to fire their coach. Sellers going out in the second half hurt South Carolina, but at the same time, Vanderbilt was already leading that game. They've just looked like a totally competent football team for maybe the first time in my life. And I mean, I was just looking at this the other day. I think we're going to have 5-0 Vanderbilt at 3-2 Alabama in 3 weeks. And that's just, it's difficult to wrap your head around. Vanderbilt is certainly one. Oregon seemingly not dropping off any from Dylan Gabriel leaving. Dante Moore he's just a star. And they've been really, really good.
That's a great one. I was thinking about that too. They were one of the teams, hand up. They were one of the teams that I thought could take a step back this year. It felt like they were one of the, before, and I'm not alone in this. I think a lot of other places do it too. But before the season, we're doing all these preseason predictions at CBS Sports, and you got to pick, all right, like who's the preseason top 10 team you think is going to fall out? Who's not going to make the playoff? And like Notre Dame was the top one that I thought about, so props to me there. But Oregon was the number 2 one. It just felt like they lost a lot. Can they keep this thing rolling the way it has? And it's been incredibly impressive. And I'll say, just to kind of somewhat tied to it, Cal has looked awesome. Their QB is so dang good. And I mean, again, he was signed with Oregon, then ultimately goes to Cal. They're probably going to be in one of the biggest bidding wars for a QB that we've seen. Probably it's going to be tough for them to keep him, but good for Cal. That's been a lot of fun team. I thought they, with hiring Brian Harsin and losing all that they did in the offseason, felt like that could potentially be a disaster. And instead, they have like maybe the most electrifying quarterback right now. It's awesome.
From a player perspective, again, I feel like the negative surprise is the easy one in Arch Manning. Who's been a player that stood out to you though these first 3 weeks? You're like, wow, I wasn't expecting that from him.
Yeah, I mean JSK. I think that's one of them. Cal's quarterback. I think one team that I have really really enjoyed watching, and I didn't watch a ton of him last year, but I remember talking to people like, hey, this guy could be really good. Devin Dampier at Utah is fun to watch. Yeah. That offense has taken a big leap this year, hiring Jason Beck. Who was at New Mexico previously. They've been fun. But you're right. I mean, I think across the board, the quarterback position in particular has been disappointing relative to what we thought. And I mean, I thought coming into this year, especially in the SEC, it's like, man, there are so many good quarterbacks. Like I did a big preseason feature on Lenora Sellers. Hasn't been great. DJ Lagway just threw 5 interceptions. People had him highly rated. I mean, there's enough Arch discussion around the world that I don't need to wade into it, but it has not been great. I think we've all seen that. Right. And even a guy like Garrett Nussmeier, who hasn't been bad, and again, he did what he. I mean, you thought that the offense was going to be the strength of that team, and it has not happened to this point. The offensive line has some problems. It's not all on Garrett. He's still probably the QB that I might like the best in that regard. But I mean, saw him against Clemson. He was okay. Has not blown you away. So it's been interesting that so many of the really highly regarded guys coming into the season have not lived up to expectations. And on the flip side, you've seen guys, Jackson Arnold's been solid. John Mateer at Oklahoma has been pretty good. Ty Simpson hasn't been terrible the last couple games. It's just been seems like more of the guys a rung below have almost been better thus far. But of course, it's still pretty early on in the year.
I wanted to ask you about Mateer. Oklahoma was a team I just didn't have a lot of faith in preseason. I thought the two teams I thought for sure were going to be in trouble were Florida and Oklahoma. And thus far, Oklahoma's been really good. They have this big matchup with Auburn this weekend. If they win that, they're really off and running. Has Mateer been better, or has he been what you thought he was going to be?
I think he has been what I thought he was going to be, but I will say I had the same skepticism as you did about Oklahoma. It has lessened, but it has not fully dissipated, is what I would say. I think some of what they did against Michigan with Mateer, I don't know that that's replicable throughout the rest of the season. And so I think this is a really big test early on. I honestly like Auburn in this game. Maybe that will be foolish after how it plays out, but I like what Auburn has. And I just feel like they're one of those teams where, like you said, if they win this game, Oklahoma's cooking, and you're going to start, well, Texas doesn't look great. Is that a winnable game? You can start talking yourself into Oklahoma being a playoff team, but they also still feel like a team that could have 4 losses to me. I think Michigan, I'm not super impressed with. So, like, you give them some points for that, but not all the points. This one is a bigger challenge to me. And then, of course, they still have plenty of difficult games to come. So it's still a really tough schedule. I like Mateer. I like Ben Arbuckle, their offensive coordinator, but I'm hesitant to go all in on them at this point.
I know recency bias is a thing, but is next weekend the best weekend of college football that you can remember?
It's funny. I was a little inside baseball. I was texting with Ross Dellinger the other day about kind of what games we're all going to. And I was like, I want to go to this game. I want to go to this game. It's like, should I just stay home? And as of currently slated right now, I'm planning on going to Bama, Georgia. But like, there's kind of part of me that just wants to sit at home all day because there's so many great games. And, we're going to get into it in a little bit, I'm sure. But like Mississippi State, Tennessee is like a really fun game. And it's like the undercard because there's so many other big games. Obviously, Penn State, Oregon, LSU, Ole Miss is an interesting one. Bama, Georgia. I mean, you go down and down the line. There's just so many great games.
I mean, if your prediction is right, Auburn, Texas A&M becomes a massive game.
Huge game. Yeah. Absolutely. A&M's been great. Like we expect Mississippi State to keep winning, and so they should be undefeated. Having Tennessee at home, that's going to be a big one. Yeah, I mean, I thought week 1 was great. Not all of them lived up to the hype, but on paper, a lot of those were great. But I mean, this is a very tasty way to end the month. And I'm excited about it. I'm sad that I'm going to be missing some of it, but I'm going to try to watch as much as I can.
So let's talk about Mississippi State. One of the pleasant surprises of this college football season. It always felt like Arizona State was a game they could win. I don't know how many people predicted them to do so. They're obviously better than most people thought they were. Look at that guy right there. But they're obviously better than most people thought they were going to be. How much better, though? Is this actually a good football team, I guess is my question.
Good is so relative. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, I think that they're certainly improved, right? I thought that they have done a very good job. I thought their strategy in the offseason and how they rebuilt their roster was really smart. I think that they, not so overplayed to say Moneyball, but I think that they found inefficiencies in the market where they were able to do some things a little bit differently than other places. So far, it's played out very well. I mean, better than anybody. I mean, they've been some impactful injuries already. That sucks. That you don't know how much that impacts things, but it's not ideal. Do they have the depth, to hold up over the course of an entire season? It's an open question. But, one of the things that I thought never got as much attention as it should have was that they played a lot of the top teams in the SEC last year pretty tough. I mean, they were hanging around those games. They didn't have the dudes to win, but I think people just saw, oh, they only won two games. They must be awful. And to be clear, we're not very good, but they played tougher. There was this team has not quit on Jeff Lebby vibe when I watched them in some of those later games that you felt like, all right, if they can get some dudes, can they elevate up? With Blake being healthy, can they elevate up? And I think they have. So you think about if they take care of business this weekend, they've already doubled their amount of wins from last year. I was looking at their schedule literally yesterday, and it's like, could they go to a bowl game? Is that the level of success that you need this year? It would be great. You look at the schedule, it's tough. It's tough. Where do you find those wins? That's the tricky part. So I think that you see, especially in the SEC, you can be a lot better than you were the year before, and yet you still aren't winning 10 games, right? And I
Right.
think that's just how competitive the SEC is. So I was impressed by what I've seen so far. I remember you asked me what Mississippi State needs to do week 1, and I think I said they have to
Don't
win.
lose.
Yeah, don't lose. But that was like the kind of the early barometer, right? It's just like you talk to people around the program, they're like, we think we're better, but like, let's see. And then like little touch and go to start there, and you're like, all right, is it? We doing this again? And then of course, they win, and they beat Arizona State, which was a huge moment. And now they're getting a Tennessee team that, frankly, I think is better than people expected. I mean, Aguilar has looked good. I think if you thought maybe they were going to take a step back, hasn't quite happened yet. So it's a very long-winded answer to your question. So I think they are better. Whether they are good or not, I think is very much TBD. And I think the Tennessee game would go a long way to proving that they are. To beat that team at home would certainly, the hype would be higher than it's been in a decade. I mean, you tell me. I mean,
Easily. You're talking about. Well, I mean, if they win this week, it's the first time they were 4-0 since they were number 1 in the nation.
right.
It's been that long. So yeah, the hype would definitely be there. You talked about the SEC quarterbacks and there's been some ups and downs. Where do you have Shapen in the conference?
I think he's underrated, frankly, and I think that's in part just because of the Mississippi State thing, where people thought, "Hey, they're so bad, they're going to be bad." Like I mean, you would probably know better than I do because you're more laser focused on it. But I would guess that he was probably bottom 4 in probably every preseason QB rankings, right?
Agreed.
I think he certainly has been more efficient and competent than quite a few other guys in the SEC I've seen so far. I think it's very much still kind of an open question as to who's the real top. I mean, I'm curious what you think. Again, I think Mateer has been very good, probably the guy at the top. Arnold hasn't been bad. Gunnar Stockton's been okay. Aguilar's been good. I mean, there's a couple guys who I probably have ahead of him right now, but I mean, he's been good, and clearly there's a trust factor between him and Levy that I think is potent and would give me confidence that they can hang with some of these teams.
If State wins this weekend, are they going to be in the top 25? They're 4-0. I mean, obviously, depends on there'll be some movement, but at 4-0, don't you have to rank them?
Well, I believe I have. I mean, you don't get to ever see my ballot, so I literally could say anything to you right now. But we do a CBS Sports top 136, and I think I've had them in my top 25 the last 2 weeks. Now they're at the bottom of the top 25,
right?
And again, I don't have an AP vote, and
they were 2-10 a year ago. Being 25th is doing okay,
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think like if you look on paper, like, are they probably more impressive than what USC has done? Yeah, but USC is a brand and people vote USC, and USC just had the primetime game on
Notre Dame is the one
CBS.
Everybody's pointing out to us, and I'm just like, it's Notre Dame. What do you want? I know they're 0-2, but they're Notre Dame.
I think the one concern is like, does winning this weekend bump you up enough? I don't know. I mean, I think that, I'm looking at it right now. I mean, they're probably like 30th right now?
Or 29th this last week, I think.
29th. I mean, like, could you jump a couple of those teams potentially? I think they're probably going to be on the outside looking in, is my guess, but we'll see what kind of happens this weekend. And then obviously, if they beat Tennessee, they have to be in the top 25.
Yeah, at that point, it becomes kind of an interesting deal. One last question before you go. If State is 7-5, let's say they put some games together, and it's kind of funny, John. Like a month ago, if I'd said I think State's going to win one of Tennessee, Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss. Those are 4 home conference games. I think State can win one of those. You would have been like, I don't know. But now when it's a combination of State playing better and those other teams are just not unbeatable juggernaut teams. They're good, but they're not great. So if I made you pick one, what's the one that State could get?
All right, so getting back to me, Tennessee, Ole Miss,
Texas, Ole Miss, and Georgia.
It's a great question. I guess, the obvious answer is probably Ole Miss, just because, as you know, that rivalry is wild and wacky, and anything can happen. And especially like if Ole Miss is in the playoff hunt, that makes me maybe even more believe that Mississippi State would win because those two teams love to knock each other out when something big is on the line for the other one. So that's a good one. But beyond that, Tennessee, I think, is the one just because of where they're at right now.
It's their first road game, too.
Right. It's a big moment for Aguilar. We'll see kind of how he handles that. That to me, and that's again where it's like everything is rolling right now. The vibes are high. You know that place is going to be extremely loud. Aguilar has not dealt with something like that before. You can talk yourself into that. Georgia, I think, is still a cut above. Texas, I mean, they played Texas pretty tough a year ago. I think it's conceivable. But those are probably the two that I would identify as a little bit separated from those. And let me say, like, if Mississippi State goes 7-5 or so, I think Levy deserves real Coach of the Year consideration.
Yeah, agreed.
Just from what and I wrote about it a year ago, as you know, but like from what he inherited and all that the program has been through over the last 3-4 years to what he had to deal with last year, to get this team just to a bowl game is pretty incredible. And he would deserve quite a bit of credit for that.
You're more than welcome to pick State Tennessee next week. You could skip Alabama, Georgia, and just come right on over. We'd love to have you here.
Listen, I think it would be fun to go to.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I understand. So, John Talty, 24/7 Sports National College Football Reporter. Always a pleasure to have you on, man.
Of course, buddy. Good to see you again.
One of the questions I asked John, Robbie, was, does he think State will be ranked if they win this weekend against Northern Illinois? And he said, he wasn't sure. The process is what it is. But it got me thinking, in the history of the AP poll, how many times has a 4-0 SEC team been unranked? It can't be a lot.
It doesn't happen much.
Yeah.
And, it might be a situation where people are looking at it and saying, hey, Tennessee and State next week in a battle of two teams that look kind of exciting. It might be good to put them in the top 25. I don't know.
There will be some of that. There will be some public perception idea that that feels like a top 25 matchup.
Yeah.
Make it happen. It just got me thinking.
I think State, I think it's fair to wait and see what State does. If they win this week, wait and see what State does next week. It's a 2-10 team last year.
I agree.
They look, in a lot of ways, they look like a top 25 team. The defense and the offense have both been pretty successful in the first few weeks. Mm-hmm. But waiting to see what they do against Tennessee, I think is fair. Now, if they go and beat Tennessee and they're 5-0, then they'll probably jump into the rankings and have, in the top 20 at that point, possibly.
And I'm going to keep an eye on two games here. Auburn and Oklahoma, and then Missouri and South Carolina. If Oklahoma wins that game big, let's say they win big. They win by like 17 points, right? Auburn is 22nd. They could drop out and State could go above them. Same with Missouri. Missouri's playing South Carolina. They're a big favorite in that game. But what if South Carolina wins that game? Missouri could drop from 23rd to out and State could get in there. So those two games, which are the only two SEC games this weekend, could play a role in whether or not Mississippi State finds its way into the poll. Notre Dame is at 24. They're playing Purdue. They're going to win. USC is at 25. I believe they have Michigan State this weekend. Michigan this weekend has Nebraska. Michigan is 21st. If they lose, they would be 2-2 on the season.
Yeah, drop them out.
You would have to drop them out. So those are some games to keep an eye on if you're thinking about State maybe jumping into the top 25 prior to playing Tennessee. All right, tomorrow's show, 3 Ps. It's going to kind of be like it was last week, though. We're going to focus a little bit more on Mississippi State than the opponent. We'll give Northern Illinois a little bit more run than we gave Alcorn, but beyond that, it's going to be mainly a Mississippi State focused podcast. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Before we go, a quick, we don't do a lot of thoughts and prayers here on the show, but saw earlier today Mississippi State tweeted that legendary football player D.D. Lewis had passed away, member of the Mississippi State Ring of Honor, one of State's only two members of the College Football Hall of Fame, a longtime professional, 2-time Super Bowl winner, and from all accounts, a great guy. Pass our thoughts on to his family in this time. A great Bulldog and one of our true legends here in Starkville.
Yeah, totally. One of the greatest of all times. I think you can make a case for him top 5, top whatever Bulldog ever. Mm-hmm. With the accolades that he's picked up, I mean, it was incredible. And a guy that he played for the Dallas Cowboys, was a Dallas Cowboy great as well. One of the guys that got my papaw, my mom's side of the family, interested in the Dallas Cowboys. He became a huge Dallas Cowboys fan because of D.D. Lewis. In many ways, the same way that people have become Cowboys fans because of Dak Prescott. D.D. was like that to Mississippi State fans back in the day. When you look back at the 50s, the 60s, that time, that era of Mississippi State football was not great.
No.
But D.D. Lewis was a giant
Yeah.
to Mississippi State fans. So definitely, and all indications, I never got the pleasure of meeting him. Everybody that I know that knows him says he was the most wonderful man that they've met. So definitely, that family has a massive piece of their heart missing now that D.D. Lewis is gone, and the Mississippi State fan base does as well, the people that watched him growing up. So prayers to his family for sure.
First team All-American, SEC Defensive Player of the Year in 1967. Then one of the longest NFL careers for a linebacker you'll ever hear. Came into the league in 1968 and played on the 1981 Dallas Cowboys team. I always make this comment.
Amazing.
You know the catch, Dwight Clark in the back of the end zone. D.D. Lewis is pressuring Joe Montana in that clip.
Yep.
So that's how long he played in the NFL. So our thoughts and prayers to the Lewis family. Talk to you guys tomorrow. For Robbie Faulk, I'm Brian Hadad. Thanks for listening to Thunder and Lightning here on Super Talk, Mississippi.